Hey guys. Today we peel back the curtain on your life as if you're standing backstage in a dark theater, spotlights glaring and shadows creeping at the edges of your vision. You feel the heat of expectation on your skin, and you realize the show won't start until you take that first step onto the stage. Reality check. No director's going to call action for you. You're both the star and the crew. You blink as the theater lights sharpen. This moment is yours. You sense the hum of possibility vibrating through the air. Success isn't waiting in the wings. It lives right here, right now, in how you decide to show up. No perfect conditions, no backup plan, just you, standing in your own spotlight, ready to own every line, every move, every outcome. That's the first truth you need to embrace. Success starts with you. It's time to confront the excuses you've rehearsed so many times they sound like facts. You've blamed traffic, blamed the economy, blamed your boss, your family, your past, you name it. But each excuse is just a prop you hold up to avoid stepping into your own power. Look in the mirror, not just once, but every morning. Not to admire, but to challenge. Ask yourself, what story am I telling about why I can't succeed? Then strip away that narrative. No more blaming. No more waiting for permission. You're done giving energy to excuses. You're done living yesterday's reruns. Because here's the unglamorous truth. If you created the mess, you can clean it up. If your choices landed you in this spot, new choices can lead you somewhere better. That's power. That's control. That's the essence of ownership awakening. You might feel a twinge of resistance. Your mind argues, but I need time. I'm not ready. Something outside has to shift first. That's the old script talking. Rip it up. Rewrite it. Ownership is not about self-flagellation. It's about self-empowerment. It's drawing a line in the sand and saying, from this moment on, I call the shots. So take a breath, feel your chest swell, and decide right now that you are responsible for every part of your life, the good, the bad, the progress, and the setbacks. This isn't a one-time pep talk. It's a lifetime commitment. It means admitting mistakes without shame, forgiving yourself without complacency, and stepping forward even when you tremble. Ownership awakening is a daily ritual. Every time you catch yourself blaming circumstances, pivot. Every time you slide into victim mode, stand up. Every time you delay, act. No more comfort in delay. No more excuses masquerading as strategy. You build momentum by making decisions and following through. Here's your first ownership exercise. Tonight, write down 3 areas where you've been shirking responsibility. Maybe it's your health, your finances, or your relationships. Next to each, jot the exact decision you will make tomorrow morning to reclaim control. Then, hold yourself to it. No tweaking, no backing out. When that alarm rings, resist snooze. When that task looms, start anyway. When that call feels intimidating, dial the number. These micro-victories wire your brain to expect ownership, not surrender. Ownership awakening and mindset. Reset isn't theoretical, it's practical. It's not about talking smarter. It's about living smarter. It's not about finding a magic pill. It's about hitting reset on how you approach every waking moment. Imagine peeling away layers of excuses like shedding old skin. Underneath lies the raw potential you've been hiding from. It's urgent, it's alive, and it's waiting for your command. So stand taller as you move through your day. Speak to yourself with honesty, no sugarcoating. Celebrate wins, own failures, and learn faster. The moment you choose ownership, you unbolt the door to growth. And growth is not comfortable. But comfort is a trap that keeps you tethered to the familiar. Ownership is the key that unlocks discomfort. And you embrace that because you know real change demands it. When you feel discomfort rise, lean into it. That feeling is the signal you're on the edge of something meaningful. Not pain for pain's sake, but pain as proof you're stretching. Ownership. Awakening is about turning that signal into fuel. You own the thoughts you think. You own the actions you take. You own the reality you create. That's the mindset reset. Shifting from passive passenger to proactive pilot. Every decision you make from this chapter forward must pass the ownership test. Is this my choice, or am I hiding behind excuses? If it's the latter, scrap it. If it's the former, commit fully. You'll stumble. Ownership doesn't erase mistakes. It demands you own them. When you do, you reclaim energy you once spent on blame and rededicate it to solutions. You trade comfort for control. Tomorrow morning, look in the mirror again. Not to criticize, but to recommit. Remind yourself, I chose this life, and I own where it goes next. That is the unshakable foundation upon which every subsequent section builds. Without it, you'll drift back into the old patterns. With it, you stand firm even when storms surge. So claim that foundation now. Lock it in. From here on, every word you speak, every plan you make, every step you take begins with the declaration, success starts with me. Ownership is not a buzzword. It's your daily mantra. It's the stark realization that your behavior, your choices, and your mindset are the architects of your reality. When you stop outsourcing responsibility to that elusive, perfect moment, to other people, or to circumstances, you reclaim freedom. You transition from reactive to proactive. You become the author of your own story, rather than a passenger clinging to the pages. You notice something pivotal happens the moment you make that shift. Your energy focuses. No more scattered blame. No more wasted emotional currency on what you can't control. Instead, you free up mental bandwidth to solve problems. You start thinking, what can I fix right now? Rather than, why isn't anything fixing itself? Consider your typical morning. You hit snooze, you groan, you scroll notifications. You tell yourself you'll have a better day tomorrow. That cycle is ownership's antithesis. Now imagine a different script. You wake up, take a deep breath, and immediately remind yourself of one control point. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water. Maybe it's writing down your top priority. Maybe it's making your bed. It doesn't matter how small. What matters is that it's yours, that you own it, that you start your day by doing something you said you would do. That micro-ownership ripples outward. Ownership awakening also means facing discomfort with curiosity instead of fear. When you feel a knot in your stomach, a resistance to a certain task, that's a signal. What am I avoiding? What do I need to learn? You don't recoil. You lean forward. You interrogate the discomfort, because hiding from it keeps you small. Examining it sets you free. You might wonder, can I really do this? What if I fail? Those questions aren't obstacles. They're invitations. They're the flip side of accountability. Every time you tackle something uncertain and potentially messy, you reinforce your capacity to handle it. You build confidence, not by hiding from risk, but by embracing it. Ownership isn't about only choosing safe bets. It's about accepting that you can handle whatever unfolds. Start mapping your ownership moments. Right now, pull out a piece of paper or open a note. List 3 areas of your life where you feel stuck. Beside each, write one action you can take within the next hour to move the needle. No elaboration, just action. Then do it. Even if it's a tiny step, a 5-minute conversation, a rough draft outline, a brief workout, a quick financial check. The key is to execute, to prove that you're the one holding the pen. And notice how that feels. Notice the shift, a subtle increase in clarity, a slight rush of empowerment, a glimmer of momentum. Those sensations are powerful reminders that ownership works. They're the proof signals that your choices are causally linked to outcomes. From this ownership foundation springs every other strategy, from your habits to your resilience, from your rituals to your growth. Without it, every tactic is hollow. With it, every tactic fuels your forward momentum. So what does ownership look like by nightfall? It looks like you review your day with brutal honesty. You acknowledge where you slipped. Maybe you binged TV instead of reading. Maybe you let a deadline slide. Maybe you snapped at someone. You don't wallow. You note the pattern. Then you decide the corrective action for tomorrow. What will you do differently? How will you intervene earlier? How will you set guards against relapse? Ownership is iterative. It's a cycle. Decide, act, review, adjust. Decide again. Each loop deepens your ownership muscle. Over weeks, it becomes unconscious. Over months, it becomes identity. Imagine 6 months from now. You've owned this process daily. You've built so many micro wins that your confidence has soared. The mirror no longer reflects excuses. It reflects solutions. You don't wait for change. You generate it. You don't hope for motivation. You create it. You don't need outside approval. You rely on your own standards. That is the power of ownership awakening and mindset reset. It's the spark that ignites the engine of lasting transformation. And that engine drives every mile of your journey to become your best self. But remember, sparks need fuel. Your fuel is consistent, intentional decision-making. Your fuel is unflinching honesty. Your fuel is willingness to feel the discomfort of growth. Keep stoking that fire by making every small choice a declaration of ownership. Now take one last look in the mirror, not for vanity, not for validation, for accountability. In that gaze, seal the deal. I own this life. I own my choices. I own my future. And as you step away from that reflection, carry that declaration into everything you do, because this is your first and most crucial decision to become the leader of your own life, to accept that success doesn't wait for you. It starts with you. You've ignited ownership. Now you face a familiar chasm, the gulf between knowing what to do and actually doing it. You plan relentlessly, journals brimming with good intentions, to-do lists stretching to infinity. But progress stalls. That stops now. You dismantle the intention-action gap today by wiring your brain to move before it argues. First, you harness simple triggers. A trigger is a specific cue planted in your environment that demands an immediate response. For example, you decide that the moment your morning alarm rings, you will sit up, plant both feet on the floor, and recite your top priority out loud. No negotiation, no tapping snooze. The sound of that alarm transforms into your launch pad, not another empty promise of a later. You install that cue by placing sticky notes on your nightstand reading "Action Now," or by setting your phone alarm tone to a commanding voice saying, "Stand and deliver." The moment you wake, you feel that familiar jolt of uncertainty, but the cue overrides it. You obey before your mind can sabotage. Next, you deploy commitment devices. You know that when left unchecked, your willpower frays by midday. So, you structure agreements that lock you in. For instance, you set up an automatic debit that funnels money into a savings account if you miss a workout. You don't negotiate with tomorrow's willfulness. You force accountability in today's terms. If skipping a gym session costs you $50, the pain of inaction outweighs the illusion of rest. Now, the mere thought of avoiding exercise triggers friction. You hear the whir of money draining away and decide that 5 a.m. squats look far more appealing. You can also create social commitment devices. You text a friend, "I'll be at the track at 6 a.m." and share live location updates to prove it. No one wants to leave a friend hanging or face that awkward, "Where were you?" text the next day. Public accountability, wielded with intention, transforms abstract goals into concrete obligations. Another core tactic is temptation bundling. You pair a habit you dread with a reward you crave. You savor your favorite podcast exclusively while on the treadmill. That show doesn't stream anywhere else, so you must lace up and run to hear the next episode. Suddenly, dread yields to anticipation. You move because enjoyment is waiting at the finish line. Temptation bundling is not cheating, it's smart design. It reframes action from hard work to special access. You also use the Seinfeld strategy, the simple act of marking an X on a calendar for every day you complete your chosen task. You draw a big red X today, tomorrow, another, soon. You have a chain of X's stretching back. Your only job becomes not breaking the chain. When you see that line of wins, even the most tired part of you wants to maintain it. You obsess not over perfection, but over consistency. Breaking that chain feels worse than skipping a workout, missing a draft, or ignoring that crucial email. The chain isn't a magical cure. It's visible proof that you show up. Your environment is your silent partner in action. You clear distractions and place prompts in plain sight. Notebooks on your desk, a water bottle on your kitchen counter, dumbbells by your couch. You remove obstacles. If you aim to read more, the book sits open on your pillow, impossible to ignore. You don't trust motivation. You trust design. You engineer your surroundings so that taking action is the path of least resistance. You pre-commit to deadlines with external judges. Perhaps you join a writing group where everyone shares a word count goal and critiques each other's drafts. The moment you miss your quota, you face collective disappointment. You can't hide behind private procrastination. You convert invisible work into socially visible milestones, leveraging others' expectations to propel you forward. Micro-commitments matter too. You commit to just 1 minute of practice. You tell yourself, "I'll write for 60 seconds." More often than not, you exceed that threshold. Starting is the hardest part. Momentum builds once you begin. You set the bar low to defeat your inner saboteur. That minute transforms into 10, 15, 20. Each second spent on the task chips away at resistance. You also schedule implementation and intentions, the if-then statements that create clear action plans. If it's Monday at 3 p.m., then I open my laptop and outline section 2. You don't debate whether to work. You simply follow the script. Your brain doesn't ask, "Should I?" because you've already answered. You program your day in advance, preempting excuses with explicit instructions. In parallel, you guard your willpower. You recognize early morning is your most potent window. So you tackle high-impact tasks first, before decision fatigue sets in. You batch choices. You choose your outfit the night before. You plan meals for the week. You automate bill payments. You save your willpower for the actions that matter instead of dissipating it on trivia. You also break big tasks into micro-tasks. Faced with a massive report, you identify the first concrete step, opening the document and typing a title. You freeze time into manageable chunks. You allocate 10 minutes to lay out bullet points. That tiny progress lowers the activation energy for sustained effort. You watch resistance shrink as you chip away at complexity. You launch public countdowns for major milestones. You post a daily update on social media with your progress. Day 3 of daily morning journaling complete. You embrace vulnerability and let external observers witness your journey. You feel the subtle pressure to maintain your streak when you know eyes are watching. You turn your transformation into a communal experience without surrendering ownership. You lean on accountability partners. You pair up with someone who has a complementary goal. Perhaps they want to cook healthy meals while you want to learn a new language. You check in daily, sharing both successes and slip-ups. You offer encouragement and receive it in return. You create a system that buffers you against inertia. When you hit resistance, you remember you promised to report in. You pick up the phone rather than the snack bag. Importantly, you practice start small, scale fast. You commit to a beginner version of the activity. You learn the fundamentals and iterate quickly. Rather than convincing yourself you'll master Pilates in a month, you show up for the 20-minute beginner class 3 times. You build a foundation, then layer complexity. You avoid the overwhelm that kills momentum. To reinforce immediate action, you enact rapid feedback loops. You end each day by reviewing what you executed versus what you planned. You tally your wins, no matter how small, and list one improvement for tomorrow. You don't dwell on failures. You treat them as data points, guiding your next move. You use this nightly ritual to close the intention-action gap before it reopens with tomorrow's sunrise. You also tap into identity triggers. You frame your actions around who you want to be. You don't say, "I'm going to run today." You say, "I'm a person who runs every morning." That subtle shift plants the intention deep in your psyche. Every time you tie your shoes, you reenact your chosen identity. You don't walk into the gym, you walk into your future self. You guard against planning fallacy by overestimating task time and underestimating obstacles. You pad deadlines so that you fail early rather than late. You build extra time into your calendar for transitions. You remove the excuse that "I didn't have enough hours," because you recognized you always have fewer than you want. To keep your triggers fresh, you rotate them periodically. You change the location of your trigger note. You swap alarm tones. You update commitment devices. You don't let your system go stale. You treat your environment as dynamic, responsive, and evolving with your growth. As you integrate these strategies, you notice a shift. The friction between thought and action dissolves. Decisions once agonized over become almost reflexive. The intention-action gap shrinks to a sliver. You no longer waste time debating whether to start. You simply begin. This transition isn't magical, it's engineered. You harness straightforward psychological levers: triggers, commitment devices, environment design, social pressure, identity framing, to override your default inertia. You transform good intentions into automatic behaviors. You don't rely on rare surges of motivation. You rely on well-constructed systems that activate at the right moment. Now, look at your own goals. Identify one area where you've stalled. Choose a trigger you can install in the next 10 minutes. Set a commitment device that makes failure costly. Share your plan with an accountability partner. Define the tiniest possible action you can take immediately. Then, at the next possible cue, your alarm, your desk light coming on, your coffee brewing, you act without question. You feel it happening, the empowerment of immediate action. It sharpens your focus, boosts your confidence, and creates the momentum that propels you forward. Action begets action. One simple step breeds the next. The gap that once paralyzed you now feels like a speed bump you sail over without slowing down. That is how you turn intention into immediate action. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You manufacture it. You don't wait for motivation. You construct it. You don't ask, what if I can't? You ask, what's the first move? And you make it. You've built momentum by acting without waiting. Now you confront the silent puppeteer of your life, your habits. They're the hidden architects crafting your daily reality without conscious input. Your habits either build you up or break you down. Left unchecked, they will steer you like an autopilot, sometimes toward growth, too often toward stagnation. It's time for a deep audit and strategic replacement of those automatic routines. You begin with a full inventory. You pause in your day and ask, what do I do without thinking? You trace the patterns from the moment you wake until you fall asleep. You notice the mindless scroll at the newsfeed, the autopilot snack raid in the afternoon slump, the habitual excuses whispered before you start that big project. You list each habitual action, good and bad, no judgment, only observation. As you catalog these behaviors, you see clusters emerge. Many of your choices occur in predictable contexts: the couch, the kitchen, your desk, your phone screen. Habits are context-dependent loops. Cue, routine, reward. The cue might be the ding of a notification, the sight of your running shoes by the door, or the weight of fatigue settling in. The routine is the action you take. Scroll, snack, skip. The reward is the fleeting relief, pleasure, or distraction you crave. To change the outcome, you must tweak each element of the loop. You start with the low-hanging fruit, the habits that cost you more than you realize. You spotlight the ones that chip away at your time, energy, and focus. You choose one to replace first, no more than one, to avoid overwhelm. Let's say your list shows a daily habit of checking social media the moment you have downtime. You decide to swap that for reading a few pages of a book. You redefine the cues and the routine. Whenever your phone screen lights up with a notification, you switch to your Kindle app instead. The reward remains mental stimulation, but now it feeds growth instead of distraction. You implement this replacement with precision. You place your physical book next to your phone charger. You turn off non-essential notifications so the cue only arrives when it truly matters. You set a rule. At any red light pause in traffic, you read instead of scroll. Within days, the new habit begins to stitch itself into your routine. You feel that small sense of accomplishment each time you turn a page. That reward anchors the change. Next, you tackle your morning autopilot. You used to hit snooze twice, then drag yourself to the coffee maker before you even register your goals for the day. Now you pivot. The cue is your alarm. The routine is your ownership exercise from Section 1, the 1-minute priority statement. You place a sticky note on your ceiling saying, "Mo, what's one win today?" You hear the alarm. You sit up, read the note, and say aloud your top goal. No coffee first, no browsing. You own your morning. You celebrate that tiny victory. The reward is clarity and momentum, far superior to the hazy buzz of caffeine before purpose. To deepen your audit, you examine midday lulls. You notice a predictable 2 p.m. slump. You used to rescue yourself with sugary snacks and YouTube clips. Now you recognize that slump as a cue. The routine has been to reach reflexively for comfort. You replace it with a quick dip in your energy bank, a 2-minute breathwork exercise, or a brisk hallway walk. You plant a reminder on your desk, 2 p.m. reset. When the slump hits, you step away from the screen. Get upright, breathe deeply. The reward is a genuine spike of focus afterward, not a sugar crash 2 hours later. Your evening routine also demands scrutiny. You often collapse in front of the TV, letting hours slip into the void. Now you re-engineer that loop. The cue, dinner finished is followed by a choice. 30 minutes of reflection journaling instead of streaming mindless shows. You set your notebook on the table before dinner. You dim the TV first. And you commit. Right before you watch. The reward. A sense of progress and mental clarity that Netflix never delivers. When you do stream, it's a conscious reward after the work, never a fallback to procrastination. You also dig into the habits around your workspace. Clutter accumulates like expired habits. You find papers, pens, empty water bottles, all cues to distraction. You designate clean desk zones every afternoon. You spend 5 minutes clearing your surface. You keep only one notebook, one pen, and a water bottle. The cue arrives at 4 p.m. You clear away the day's detritus. The routine is the tidy ritual. The reward, a clean slate that signals productivity, not chaos. This audit extends to your digital life. You open your browser history and see how many tabs you leave open. You identify time-sync websites. You install productivity extensions. You whitelist work-related domains, block social sites during work hours, and reduce notifications. You schedule digital detox windows where your devices are in another room. You replace screen time with phone-free mindfulness, a 10-minute meditation in your favorite chair. You feel the mental reset as a reward. Now you layer in habit tracking. You use a simple spreadsheet or app to record each day you follow your new routines. You see your consistency rate climb. You tweak the cues when you slip. Maybe the cue wasn't strong enough. Perhaps you need a more visible reminder. You adjust, iterate, and reinforce to ensure your replacement habits stick. You link them to your identity. Instead of saying, "I want to read more," you declare, "I am a reader." You label yourself, and every time you open your book, you affirm that identity. You're not temporarily reading. You are a reader. That identity anchors the habit more firmly than mere motivation. Next, you layer in habit stacking. You attach a new habit to an existing, stable one. You notice you always brush your teeth at night. You decide to use that moment as a cue to floss or to review your top 3 highlights of the day in your mind. You floss, then internally list your wins. The routine stacks smoothly, piggybacking on the reliable habit. The reward is cleaner teeth and a moment of gratitude before bed. You must also account for your environment's role. You make your bed each morning as a cue to start your day. You place your journal at the foot of the bed. When you get up, you not only straighten the covers, but also grab the journal. You immediately write one reflection sentence. The reward is personal insight and the satisfaction of a completed ritual. Gradually, the habit becomes as natural as breathing. You apply the same logic to exercise. Your gym bag goes next to your front door the night before. The cue is hearing your alarm. You see the bag. You pick it up. You do a 2-minute stretch immediately. Then you step outside. That early momentum pushes you fully into the workout. You celebrate with a protein-rich breakfast, your reward. Now you refine the habit loops further. You examine the reward phase. You notice that quick hits of novelty, snacking, social media, felt satisfying because they delivered immediate dopamine. Some of your new routines feel slower to deliver payoff. You accelerate the reward by celebrating a mental yes when you complete your new habit. You log it with a satisfying check mark or a quick text to a friend saying, "Done." The social acknowledgement becomes part of the reward circuit. You also introduce temptation bundling within habits. You decide that only while you perform your new habit can you listen to your favorite song or podcast. You play that song whenever you journal. You only hear that episode of your favorite show during your workout. That exclusive perk rewards the habit and keeps it fresh. When you detect a habit relapse, you don't beat yourself up. You diagnose. You ask, which part of the loop failed? Was the cue unclear? Did the routine lack clarity? Was the reward insufficient? You tweak and test. For example, if your cue to meditate is too subtle, you set a loud chime. If your journaling routine feels vague, you script your prompts. If your reward feels tepid, you add a 5-minute walk outside afterward. You iterate until each loop cycles smoothly. You extend habit audit to your social circles. You notice certain friends trigger unhelpful behaviors, venting without solutions, distracting conversations at work time. You limit their influence by scheduling catch-ups after you finish priority tasks. You create new social cues. Post-work gym sessions with friends who encourage exercise. Co-working sprints with colleagues who respect your focus. You strategically shape your social environment to support your desired habits. Over weeks, you observe transformation. The habits that once ran on autopilot, snacking, scrolling, procrastinating, dwindle. The habits you replace them with, reading, focused work sprints, purposeful breaks, grow strong roots. You feel more in control. Your productivity spikes. Your mood stabilizes. Your sense of self sharpens. This habit audit and replacement process isn't a one-off event. It's a continuous practice. New challenges will emerge. New context cues will shift. You regularly circle back to your inventory, perhaps monthly. You identify fresh habits to tweak and optimize. You recognize that mastery isn't static, it's a living system. You've seen how simple loops shape your reality. You've cracked open the discrete workings of your brain's default settings. Now you reprogram those settings toward your highest priorities. You don't rely on burnout-level discipline. You rely on smart design and identity alignment. You turn your entire day into a habit-driven machine for growth. So pause now. Reflect on this process. Identify one habit you'll audit and replace today. Write down its cue, routine, and reward. Then sketch the new loop. Place the cues in plain sight. Define the reward clearly. Track your progress. Commit to refining the loop until it hums. With each habit you upgrade, you strengthen your foundations. Your daily actions no longer drift. They converge on your vision. You've audited your past autopilot routines, stripped away what held you back, and strategically installed behaviors that propel you forward. That is the power of a deep habit audit and strategic replacement. It transforms invisible drift into visible direction, small choices into sweeping change. You've replaced sabotaging routines with growth-driven habits. Now you stand at a crossroads, familiar comfort or transformative stretch. The choice defines your trajectory. Growth demands discomfort. Comfort offers relief. To become your best self, you must consistently choose the former. Understanding why comfort seduces you and how to override it equips you to embrace challenge as a fuel for progress. Comfort is wired into your brain's reward system. Your neural pathways light up when you seek ease. Couch cushions, sugar hits, flicking through endless feeds. That feeling of relief is addictive. It whispers, you deserve a break. But that break extends indefinitely until purpose fades. To break free, you need a strategy that inoculates you against comfort's siren call. First, you cultivate awareness of comfort triggers. You scan your day for moments when comfort beckons. It may be the ding of a coworker's message, prompting a quick chat, the hush of late afternoon, luring you towards social scrolling, or the warm glow of evening offering TV as a sedative. You log these triggers and rank them by frequency and impact. You ask, which comfort habits cost me the most time, energy, and clarity? This audit shines a light on the battlefront. Next, you deliberately schedule comfort windows. Strange as it sounds, you give yourself permission to indulge, but within strictly controlled parameters. You allocate a 20-minute break at 4 p.m. for a walk or a coffee. You set a timer. When the buzzer sounds, comfort mode ends. This containment transforms comfort from a free-for-all into a predictable reward. By limiting indulgence, you satisfy the brain's craving without letting it hijack your entire day. Then, you build discomfort routines, rituals that purposely push your limits. You set a daily cold shower challenge, 30 seconds of icy water before breakfast. The shock to your system ignites alertness and resilience. You force yourself to call 3 challenging contacts each morning, people you find intimidating, tasks you'd rather avoid. You step into those moments of tension because each one expands your comfort zone's boundary. You also adopt stress inoculation exercises. Once a week, you simulate a controlled stressor and practice coping strategies. You time box a problem-solving session with a tight deadline. You ask a friend to quiz you on unfamiliar topics. You deliberately create mild adversity so that when genuine challenges arise, you're battle-tested. Over time, your tolerance for discomfort skyrockets, and growth becomes welcome territory. Another powerful technique is gratitude and discomfort pairing. You integrate reflection on what you appreciate with a challenging activity. For example, before your daily run, you list 3 things you're grateful for. Then, you push through your workout as an act of honoring that gratitude. This pairing reframes challenge as a tribute to all you cherish. Discomfort becomes purposeful, not punitive. You also leverage identity-based challenges. You declare, "I am someone who embraces discomfort for growth." You tattoo that truth onto your mental framework. Before entering a daunting meeting or tackling a complex project, you remind yourself of your identity. This self-talk primes your mind to see discomfort as congruent with who you are. It smooths the friction between your desire for ease and your commitment to progress. To dismantle comfort's grip, you refine your environment. You place obstacles in the path of comfort habits. You hide the TV remote in a drawer and lock it. You unplug gaming consoles during work hours. You store snacks in opaque containers atop the fridge rather than on the counter. Each friction point nudges you toward discomfort routines instead of comfort default. Meanwhile, you build comfort anchors, small comforts that support rather than sabotage. You keep a cozy blanket on your office chair for brief meditation breaks, not for hiding behind it during work. You brew a high-quality tea as a mindful pause, not an excuse to drift away. These anchors acknowledge your need for solace, but channel it into rejuvenation, not avoidance. You also adopt challenge quotas. You commit to 1 uncomfortable task per day, no exceptions. Whether it's learning a new skill, pitching an idea, or networking with a stranger. You fulfill that quota before leisure. You display your quota on a visible board and cross it off. The satisfaction of hitting your challenge target rivals any comfort reward. To sustain this discipline, you cultivate micro-celebrations, post-discomfort. After tackling a tough call or completing a cold shower, you pause, breathe deeply, and affirm, "I chose growth." You record that moment in a success log. Over weeks, this log becomes a testament to your resilience. Reviewing it fuels your motivation on low-energy days. You reinforce your stretch practice through accountability delegation. You tell a trusted friend or coach about your daily discomfort quota. You arrange brief check-ins where they ask, "Did you complete today's challenge?" Knowing you'll report keeps you honest. You can't deflect or excuse. You either did it or you didn't. That external pressure anchors your internal commitment. You also integrate cognitive reframing. When you feel resistance, You interrupt negative thoughts and replace them with purpose-driven affirmations. This discomfort strengthens me. I grow through challenge. Every stretch expands my potential. You script these reframes beforehand and recite them when the urge to retreat strikes. The cognitive shift recalibrates your emotional response to discomfort. To solidify your new paradigm, you embed growth cues throughout your day. You place quotes on your bathroom mirror. Comfort is the enemy of progress. You set calendar reminders, time to stretch. You wear a bracelet that you touch whenever you decide to lean into discomfort. These cues interrupt automatic comfort seeking and redirect you toward growth. You schedule comfort audits at week's end. You review where comfort sabotaged your goals. Maybe you skipped a workout for an extra hour of sleep. Or maybe you reached for your phone instead of deep work. You assess each slip. Was it a planned comfort window or an unauthorized retreat? You adjust your schedules, cues, or incentives accordingly. This feedback loop keeps your system tight. As you practice these strategies, discomfort loses its sting. What once felt intolerable becomes manageable, even invigorating. Your threshold for challenge expands. You feel less anxious about stepping outside your routine because you've conditioned yourself to expect and embrace the stretch. You also notice that the more you choose growth, the more comfortable discomfort becomes. The physiological stress response recalibrates. Adrenaline surges, not to scare you away, but to sharpen your focus. Your mental dialogue shifts from, "I can't handle this," to, "I've handled tougher." Comfort's allure fades beside the tangible gains you experience. Increased productivity, sharper problem solving, deeper satisfaction. Soon, discomfort routines become normal routines. You crave them. You seek the next edge. You feel alive when you push yourself. You catch yourself saying, "That was uncomfortable," and it felt good. You give yourself permission to lean into challenges, knowing they're the raw material of transformation. This practice of choosing growth over comfort is not about punishing yourself. It's about honoring your potential. It's a declaration. I value my future more than my current ease. Each stretch affirms your commitment to excellence. Each challenge conquered cements your identity as someone who refuses stagnation. So today, identify one comfort trigger that tends to derail you most. Perhaps it's late-night scrolling, mid-afternoon snacking, or avoiding that difficult conversation. Design a containment strategy, a scheduled window, or an obstacle you must clear. Then craft a corresponding stretch ritual, cold exposure, skill practice, honest conversation, tethered to the same cue. Execute both elements deliberately. Track your response and log your takeaway. You'll feel the initial discomfort. You'll question your sanity. That's exactly the signal you're on track. Embrace it, lean into it, choose growth even when comfort feels easier. Because comfort is a short-lived high. Growth is a lifelong trajectory. As discomfort transforms from foe to ally, you step closer to your best self. Each stretch you choose writes a new story in your brain. One where you consistently rise above ease, inch by inch, day by day. And that story becomes your reality. You've embraced discomfort and fueled your growth. Now comes the critical test, holding yourself accountable when no one else is watching. True discipline isn't forged in the glare of applause. It's tempered in silence. To become your best self, you need ironclad self-accountability systems, private metrics, personal contracts, and feedback loops that keep you honest in the quiet moments. First, you define your standards. Accountability begins with clarity. You ask yourself, what non-negotiable behaviors align with the person I aim to become? Maybe it's writing 1,000 words daily, exercising 4 times per week, or meditating every morning. You choose metrics that directly drive your highest priorities. You don't pick vague goals like be healthier or work harder. You specify exact outcomes. I complete my writing by 7 p.m. I attend every Tuesday and Thursday yoga class. I meditate for 10 minutes immediately upon waking. Next, you craft a personal accountability contract. You write it down in clear and commanding language on a dedicated page in your journal or in a document you can't ignore. The contract reads like a pledge. I owe your name. Commit to writing 1,000 words each weekday by 7 p.m. If I fail to meet this target, I will contribute $50 to a charity I dislike. You set real stakes, consequences that sting if you slip. The pain of failing your contract must outweigh the temporary comfort of inaction. You sign and date the document, affirming its legitimacy. You then install private metrics for each commitment. You create a simple tracking system, a spreadsheet with columns for date, task, and completion status. You log every day whether you hit your targets. You make it part of your evening ritual. Before bed, you open the sheet and record your progress. No justification, no excuses. A checkbox marks success or failure. This visible record holds you accountable to the truth, not to your memory or your mood. To bolster this, you build feedback loops. You set calendar reminders at strategic times. Midday to check in on your writing progress. Early evening to confirm you've completed your workout. When a reminder pops up, you don't dismiss it. You pause, assess, and log. If you're on track, you acknowledge it. If not, you note the obstacle and plan an immediate corrective action. Maybe you'll write another 200 words while waiting for dinner to cook, or you'll swap your missed gym session for a home workout before bed. These real-time adjustments prevent small slip-ups from snowballing into larger failures. You also leverage accountability visuals. You post your weekly targets and progress on a whiteboard in plain sight. Each morning, you glance at your board and feel the unspoken challenge. The board isn't for others. It's a silent but potent accountability partner. You scramble to update it, adding check marks or crossing off days. The visual reminder keeps your commitments top of mind throughout the day. To deepen your self-accountability, you employ a rubber band consequences. You attach a physical cue, like a rubber band on your wrist. And each time you break a promise to yourself, maybe you skip your writing goal, you snap the band lightly. The brief sting interrupts complacency and reinforces the seriousness of your contract. It's not about self-punishment, but about jolting your attention back to your commitments. You also harness digital accountability tools. You use habit tracking apps that send you notifications and weekly summaries of your completion rates. When you see a streak broken or a dip in your percentage, you feel the discomfort of falling short. That discomfort motivates you to restore your numbers. You set your app to send you morning reminders of your daily non-negotiables, so your day begins with a focus on accountability. Another powerful technique is public pre-commitment. Or you tell a small circle, a friend, a mentor, or a group about your accountability contract. You share your goals and the consequences for failure. You don't broadcast widely to avoid pressure. You choose a few trusted individuals who respect your privacy and who will check in at agreed intervals. Their questions: did you hit your writing goal today? Cut through excuses and force you to report the truth. You can't hide behind vague assurances when someone asks for specifics. You also schedule accountability audits. Once a week, you conduct a brief review session. You gather your spreadsheet, your whiteboard, your contract, and analyze your consistency. You ask, where did I slip? Why did it happen? What pattern emerges? You categorize your failures. Was it due to poor planning, lack of willpower, or external disruption? For each slip, you devise a precise countermeasure. If you consistently miss afternoon writing deadlines, you might shift your writing block to the morning, when your energy is higher. If you skip workouts because of fatigue, you adjust your sleep schedule or choose shorter, higher intensity sessions that feel more manageable. You then refine your contract and metrics accordingly. Accountability isn't static. It evolves with your learning. You don't cling rigidly to a system that fails you. Instead, you iterate, making your self-accountability tools ever sharper and more aligned with reality. To ensure you maintain momentum, you build progress rituals. At the end of each day, you celebrate your wins, and no matter how small. You might close your journal with a satisfied pen flourish when you hit your writing target, or do a triumphant stretch when you finish your workout. You log these victories in a win jar, a visible container where you drop a note each time you succeed. On tough days, you revisit the jar and remind yourself of all the times you overcame resistance. Those reminders fuel your resolve. You also institute failure rituals with compassionate recovery. When you miss a target, you don't wallow in guilt. You follow a scripted process. Pause, acknowledge the miss, express brief self-compassion. I'm human and I fell short. Then pivot to a corrective plan. Tomorrow, I'll write in my lunch break. You write this plan down immediately. This ritual prevents paralysis by regret and ensures you rebound swiftly. Another layer of self-accountability comes from external performance reviews. Monthly, you prepare a concise report on your key metrics and share it with your select accountability group. You highlight your successes, outline your challenges, and present your action plan for the next month. This structured review ritual turns your private commitments into formal progress reports. You feel the pressure of professionally presenting your results, which sharpens your focus and intensifies your follow-through. You also create accountability badges for milestones. When you complete a full month of meeting your targets, you award yourself a digital badge or a tangible token, perhaps a new journal, a piece of art for your workspace, or a small celebratory treat. These badges serve as markers of progress and reinforce your identity as someone who keeps their word. To further solidify your self-accountability, you integrate time audits. You track not only whether you complete tasks, but also how you spend your hours. You use time tracking software or a simple log to categorize your activities: writing, working out, leisure, social media, and compare against your ideal time allocations. When you notice discrepancies, say social media creeping into your dedicated work time, you adjust the next day's schedule or modify your accountability contract to include stricter time boundaries. You also align your accountability systems with your energy rhythms. You observe your peak focus windows and schedule your highest stakes tasks there. You set your toughest writing or strategic planning blocks in your peak hours and your lighter tasks, responding to messages, administrative chores during your lows. You ensure your accountability metrics respect your natural energy, preventing burnout from overly aggressive targets in low energy periods. To guard against complacency, you periodically introduce accountability shocks. You temporarily raise the stakes for a week, perhaps doubling the consequence for missed targets or shortening the deadline windows. This shock reignites your focus and resets your commitment. After the period ends, you return to your regular stakes with renewed vigor. You also practice accountability gratitude. You record one thing you're grateful for in your accountability journey each week, maybe the clarity gained from tracking, the satisfaction of daily wins, or the encouragement from your accountability partner. This practice reminds you why you maintain these systems, not to punish yourself, but to propel yourself toward greatness. Over time, These self-accountability systems knit themselves into your identity. You no longer question whether you'll follow through. You simply do. You become someone whose word, to yourself and to others, is rock solid. You build self-trust at a deep level. Your internal dialogue shifts from "I hope I can do this" to "I always do what I say I will." This unbreakable discipline ripples beyond individual tasks. It transforms your relationships, your reputation, and your self-worth. You walk through life knowing you can rely on yourself to show up, deliver, and improve. That reliability becomes your superpower. Now, pause and reflect. What are your 3 highest priority commitments? Write them clearly. Set up your contract with meaningful consequences. Define your metrics and build your tracking system tonight. Schedule your first accountability audit for this coming week. Choose your accountability partner and share your plan. Prepare your visuals, whiteboard, spreadsheet, or digital dashboard to greet you tomorrow morning. As you implement these systems, watch your discipline evolve into habit. The friction of follow-through dissolves. Consistency becomes effortless because you've engineered a framework that leaves no room for evasion. You transform from wishful thinker into reliable doer. That is the power of Ironclad self-accountability systems, a private infrastructure that guarantees your daily choices align with your highest aspirations. Employ it rigorously, and you forge a character that cannot be shaken by distraction, doubt, or delay. You've built Ironclad accountability. Next, you step into the shoes of your future self today. You don't wait for belief before you behave. You let behavior shape belief. Acting like the person you aspire to become rewires your identity, turning aspirations into automatic responses. Behavioral modeling. Your future self is the fastest way to close the gap between who you are and who you want to be. Begin by clarifying that future identity. Close your eyes and picture yourself 6 months from now. The habits you've mastered, the confidence you carry, the results you've achieved. What does that version of you do differently? How do you carry your body? How do you speak? What tasks do you tackle first? What energy do you radiate? Lock in those details. Next, reverse engineer their daily behaviors. If your future self is someone who reads every morning, then you must adopt that behavior now. If they network effortlessly at events, then you must practice initiating conversations today. You don't tell yourself, "Someday I'll be a confident speaker." Instead, you start speaking confidently in every conversation right now, shoulders back, voice steady, eye contact unwavering. You script key behaviors. Write down 5 signature actions your future self performs every day. For example, for 1, morning routine, wake at 5:30 a.m., 10 minutes of meditation, then 20 minutes of reading. And weekend 2, professional ritual, block 2 hours of deep work before checking email. 3, health habit, complete a 30-minute workout or daily walk after lunch. Networking practice, reach out to 1 new contact each workday with a personalized message. 5, evening reflection, spend 5 minutes journaling wins and lessons. Place this script where you'll see it constantly. On your bathroom mirror, your fridge door, your phone's wallpaper. Each sighting cues you to enact the behavior. Now, you begin moment of choice rehearsals. Before entering any situation, you mentally rehearse how your future self would act. You imagine the posture, tone, and mindset. For your morning presentation, you stand in power pose for 30 seconds, feet wide, hands on hips, and whisper mentally, "I am someone who commands attention." That rehearsal imprints the behavior before the real event. Simultaneously, you adjust your physical environment to support the new identity. You clear your workspace of distractions and replace them with symbols of your future self: a sleek planner, a quality pen, a book by a mentor you admire. Each object serves as a tangible reminder that you're no longer slouching through the morning. You're leading with intention. You also adopt future self language. Instead of hesitating, you speak with certainty. Replace "I'm trying to" with "I am." Swap "I'll see if I can" for "I will." When you say, "I am someone who writes daily," you signal that your identity already aligns with your goals. The language shift rewires your internal narrative. To reinforce these behaviors, you measure progress through identity KPIs. Just as businesses track key performance indicators, you track behaviors that signify your new identity. For example, days meditated on schedule, deep work sessions completed, professional outreach messages sent, workouts finished, journaling entries logged. You record these metrics daily. Over time, the numbers become proof you're living as your future self. You no longer keep your aspirations in a vague journal. You see them materialize in quantifiable actions. You also create identity rituals. These are mini ceremonies that symbolize your commitment to your future self. Perhaps you light a candle before your daily planning session. Maybe you play a specific song when you start working. Each ritual triggers the mindset and behaviors you want to embody. Over time, the ritual becomes inseparable from the identity you're crafting. When you encounter resistance, you recall your future self mantra. Choose one powerful affirmation that encapsulates your new identity. I am a focused creator. I am a disciplined leader. Or, I am a person of action. Repeat it whenever resistance arises. This mantra is your mental anchor, reminding you that every choice either reinforces your desired identity or cements the old one. You also partner with future self prompts. You place sticky notes with questions that hold you accountable. What would future you do right now? Is this decision worthy of my best self? Each prompt pulls your attention back to the behaviors you must enact. When you hesitate at a crossroads, choosing Netflix over writing, you glance at the note and feel the gentle nudge of your future self urging you forward. Another potent strategy is identity telegrams. Each week, you write a note from your future self to your present self. For instance, "Dear present me, I'm so proud you turned off distractions and wrote 2,000 words this morning." Keep that momentum going. Remember, every word builds our legacy. Future. You read these telegrams at the start of your day. They carry an emotional weight that pure logic cannot match. Hearing praise from your future self fosters trust and motivation. Simultaneously, you eliminate behaviors that conflict with your future identity. Conduct a behavioral conflict audit. List current actions that diverge from your desired self. If you intend to be a healthy eater but habitually snack on chips, that behavior conflicts. You remove the chips, stock vegetable snacks, and adjust your kitchen environment. You make the healthier choice the path of least resistance. To deepen the modeling effect, you observe role models who exemplify your future self. Listen to podcasts featuring leaders you admire. Watch videos of top performers. Note their language, posture, and rituals. Then emulate those behaviors in your own context. Effective modeling accelerates your growth by borrowing proven patterns. You also integrate identity-based micro-actions. These are ultra-small behaviors that require minimal effort but reinforce your new self. For instance, if your future self is articulate, you start each conversation by enunciating clearly. If they are punctual, you leave 5 minutes earlier everywhere you go. These micro-actions accumulate and shape your habitual responses. One advanced technique is identity bridging. You create transitional cues between your current context and your aspirational identity. For example, the moment you sit at your desk, you place a specific scarf or wear a lapel pin that signals work mode. That physical token bridges the gap between your home self and your professional self. You remove it when your work period ends, ensuring clear boundaries. You also employ future self-journaling. Each night, you journal as your future self, reflecting on the day's victories and lessons. You write in present tense. I feel energized after completing my deep work. I handled tough conversations with calm authority. This practice not only reinforces your new identity, but also primed your subconscious to seek evidence of progress the next day. To maintain momentum, you set identity milestones. These are significant commitments tied to your new self. For instance, you commit to publishing your first article by a set date, delivering a talk, or running a half marathon. These milestones stretch your capabilities and solidify your identity. I am a published author. I am a speaker. I am a runner. Achieving them cements the belief in your future self. When you face setbacks, you apply identity resilience reframing. Instead of internalizing failures as evidence you're not cut out for your new identity, you view them as learning opportunities. You journal. I stumbled, but future me knows this is part of the journey. I will adjust and continue. This reframing protects your identity from being derailed by temporary obstacles. You can also formalize identity accountability sessions. Weekly, you meet with a mentor or coach to discuss your progress in embodying your future self. You present your identity KPIs, share your challenges, and receive feedback. These sessions keep you aligned and externally validated in your new role. Another layer is identity skill building. Your future self possesses certain skills: advanced communication, strategic thinking, emotional intelligence. You allocate time each week to develop those skills through courses, books, or practice. You schedule skill sprints, dedicated blocks where you focus solely on learning and applying a target skill. Over time, these sprints deepen your competence and reinforce your identity as someone continuously growing. You also craft identity anchor statements. These are concise declarations you recite each morning. I am a disciplined writer. I am a person of action. You anchor these with physical gestures, placing your hand over your heart or standing tall. The combination of words and movement creates a powerful neurological imprint. To prevent identity drift, you set check-in thresholds. You decide that if you miss a certain number of identity KPIs in a week, say more than 2 deep work sessions or more than 3 missed workouts, you trigger a reset, a review session, a contract reevaluation, or an accountability shock. This threshold system ensures you maintain alignment without spiraling into defeatist thinking. You also nurture future self-empathy. You visualize the emotions your future self feels: pride, fulfillment, confidence. When tempted to revert to old habits, you imagine how disappointed future you would be. That emotional connection to your future state strengthens your resolve. As these practices converge, you witness a profound shift. Your present moment behaviors start to align effortlessly with your aspirational identity. You no longer ration motivation. You operate from an identity sculpted through deliberate modeling. The old self-doubts fade as you consistently act in congruence with your future self. Finally, acknowledge your progress regularly. Celebrate when you notice behaviors that once felt foreign now flow naturally. Each time you catch yourself reacting like your future self, pause and recognize the transformation. That meta-awareness accelerates the embedding of your new identity. Behavioral modeling of your future self is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing masterpiece of self-directed evolution. With every scripted action, every ritual, every KPI you nail, you draw closer to the person you envision. Remember, your identity is the sum of your habits and behaviors. By modeling your future self today, you reorder your psyche to serve your highest goals, not someday, but right now. You've assumed your future identity. Now you dismantle the final barrier, the excuses that masquerade as justifications. Excuses are the cunning saboteurs that whisper, later, not now, or I'm not ready. They shield you from discomfort, but they also steal your potential. To annihilate excuses, you need a precise protocol. Uncover your top 5 recurring rationalizations, craft counterscripts, and replace delay tactics with decisive first steps. Step 1. Excuse inventory. Begin with brutal honesty. Over the past month, what excuses have you told most often? List them without judgment. Common culprits include: no one, I don't have time. 2. I'm too tired. 3. I need more information. 4. I'll start on Monday. My 5. It's not the right moment. Write each excuse on its own line in a notebook or digital document. Beside it, note every situation where it surfaced, the task you avoided, the context, the outcome you missed. Seeing the patterns crystallizes how excuses consistently derail you. Step 2. Excuse impact assessment. Next, evaluate the real cost of each excuse under I don't have time. Record hours lost, projects delayed, and stress accrued under I'm too tired. Note energy drained by procrastination and how fatigue worsened. Quantify each excuse's toll on your goals, health, relationships, and self-belief. Converting excuses into tangible losses makes them less abstract and more urgent to eliminate. Step 3. Counterscript development. For every excuse, craft a specific counterscript, a brief, decisive statement that challenges its authority. Your scripts should follow the pattern. Excuse retort, your excuse. Counter to truth-based rebuttal from teens. First step, immediate action. Mabarisol. Example, excuse, I don't have time. Counter, I make time for my priorities. First step, I book a 15-minute slot in my calendar now. Write each counterscript in large, very clear letters on index cards. Keep them on your desk, in your wallet, or on your phone's home screen. When an excuse pops up, you see its counter and act on the first step. Step 4. Implementation via if-then plans. Translate each counterscript into an implementation intention. Use the formula, if in excuse Q. Then I first step sec. 4. I'm too tired. If I feel too tired to write after dinner, then I will write for just 5 minutes before checking my messages. 4. I need more information. If I catch myself saying I need more information, then I will outline what I do know for 2 minutes. 4. I'll start on Monday. If it's not Monday yet, then I will complete one small task related to my goal today. These plans bypass deliberation, forcing action when the familiar excuse arises. Step 5. Environmental resistance. Modify your environment to resist each excuse. 4. I'm too tired. Set a simple workspace with your notebook and pen on the kitchen table before dinner. Remove screens that lure you into idle rest. For I don't have time. Block focus intervals on your calendar and turn off notifications during those slots. 4. I need more information. Create a knowledge cutoff rule. You research for no more than 15 minutes. Then you switch to action. These environmental tweaks make excuses harder to justify. Step 6. Accountability triggers. Pair each counterscript with an accountability trigger. 4. I'll start on Monday. Have a friend ping you every Thursday to confirm you've taken a midweek action. 4. It's not the right moment. Set a timer that goes off at the top of each hour. When it rings, you ask yourself, what immediate step can I take? These triggers Keep your counterscripts top of mind. Step 7. Micro-action commitments. Excuses often grow because tasks feel overwhelming. Combat them with micro-action commitments, tiny steps that require minimal effort. 4. I don't have time. Your micro-action is open the document and write one sentence for 4. I'm too tired. It's stand up and stretch for 2 minutes. You tell yourself you'll do only that small action. More often than not, you exceed it. The key is momentum. Step 8. Excuse defeat rituals. Create a short ritual each time you successfully override an excuse. For instance, after completing the first micro-action on a task you previously avoided, you might snap your fingers twice. Say out loud, excuse defeated. Write a quick in your tracking sheet. These rituals celebrate tiny wins and reinforce neural pathways that favor action over avoidance. Step 9. Progress review sessions. Each week, review your excuse inventory. Mark which excuses surfaced, which counterscripts succeeded, and which need refinement. Maybe your I need more information counterscript falls short. Refine it to I will draft with placeholders to fill in later. Adjust your environmental setups and accountability triggers. This iterative loop keeps your protocol dynamic and effective. Step 10. Escalating consequences for stubborn excuses that persist. Introduce escalating consequences. If you repeated, I'll start on Monday 3 times in a row, impose a consequence, such as donating to a cause you oppose or forfeiting a favorite indulgence. The increased stakes sharpen focus and discourage repeated rationalization. Step 11. Positive interruption techniques. When you notice your mind drifting toward excuses, interrupt it with a positive disruption. Use the 5-count method. Take 5 deep breaths, then ask, which counterscript applies? This brief pause breaks the mental loop and re-engages your protocol. Step 12. Accountability partnerships. Share your excuse annihilation protocol with a trusted partner. Explain your top 5 excuses, your counterscripts, and micro-action commitments. Agree to check in when either of you stalls. This partnership injects social accountability and fresh perspectives on refining your approach. Step 13. Identity reinforcement. Embed an identity statement that opposes excuses. Attach it to your self-image. I am someone who takes immediate action. When an excuse arises, you don't just counter it. You remind yourself that it conflicts with who you are. This identity-based layer makes excuses appear as betrayals of self, rather than harmless lies. Step 14. Trigger action pairing refresh. Periodically refresh your if-then plans and triggers. Keep them surprising to your brain. Swap index card locations. Change trigger times. If you always get reminders at 9 a.m., schedule an unexpected midday ping. These freshness tactics prevent protocol fatigue. Step 15. Tracking excuse-free streaks. Use your habit tracker to record excuse-free days, days when none of your top 5 excuses surfaced. Aim for a streak. The longer the streak, the more motivated you become to maintain it. Splitting the gap between your ideal behavior and your actual day-to-day shrinks as your excuse-free days multiply. You may encounter setbacks. Old habits die hard. When they recur, resist self-blame. Instead, analyze. Which step of your protocol didn't engage? Was your counterscript clear enough? Did your environment need a stronger tweak? Adjust and relaunch. As weeks turn into months, you'll notice a profound shift. Tasks you once habitually postponed now get done almost reflexively. The voice of excuses fades into white noise background. You're not merely suppressing excuses, you're rewiring your system so action becomes instinctual. Excuse annihilation is the final frontier between knowing what you want and having it. By systematically exposing, countering, and replacing your top rationalizations, you reclaim the tremendous energy once wasted on delay. You harness that energy toward growth, so take out your excuse list. For each item, ensure you've developed a crystal clear counterscript, an environment tweak, an accountability trigger, and a micro-action plan. Test one today. Notice how swiftly you override your old default. Then repeat for each excuse. You've annihilated excuses. You've removed the last protective cushion that kept you from diving into discomfort. Now, every step you take forward is unimpeded, powered by clear intention and unshakable resolve. That is the Excuse Annihilation Protocol, your systematic approach to turning rationalizations into relics of the past. Employ it diligently, and you'll transform "I'll do it later" into "I'm doing it now" as naturally as breathing. You've dismantled excuses. Now you focus on your most precious resource, time. Time is the raw material of achievement, the one currency you can never earn back once spent. You may feel busy, but are you effective? To become your best self, you must master your hours by auditing your calendar, ruthlessly protecting focus blocks, building margin for rest, and applying zero-based scheduling. So every minute drives your highest priorities. Begin with a comprehensive time audit. For 1 week, log every activity in 15-minute increments: work tasks, commutes, meals, digital checks, idle moments. Use a simple spreadsheet or time tracking app. No task is too small to record. Be brutal. If you hesitate, note it. At week's end, analyze the data. Identify time drains, social media scrolls, unnecessary meetings, unstructured email triage. Highlight pockets of hidden inertia. 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Those add up to hours lost weekly. Next, decide how you want to allocate your 168 weekly hours. Anchor your values to your top goals: creation, connection, health, rest. Assign approximate hours to each domain. For example, you may allocate 15 hours for deep work, 5 hours for exercise, 7 hours for learning, 2 hours for social calls, and 56 hours for sleep. Leave buffer time for errands and meals and unexpected demands. This ideal week framework gives you a benchmark to compare against reality. Now you rebuild your calendar from zero, rather than tweaking yesterday's mess. Start with your non-negotiables, work commitments with fixed times. Sleep windows, family obligations, block those first. Then slot in your high-value activities according to your time values: deep work sessions, exercise, learning. Use time blocking. Dedicate contiguous blocks for related tasks. For instance, schedule 2-hour deep work sprints from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., followed by a 30-minute break, then another block if needed. Each block should have a clear purpose and deliverable. Protect these blocks fiercely. Turn off notifications. Close irrelevant tabs. Activate Do Not Disturb. And let calls go to voicemail. Inform colleagues and family of your focus hours so they know when you're off limits. Consider using a visible signal, like a red desk flag, to indicate your focus mode. When your focus block ends, allow yourself a brief reward, a walk, a hydration break, a stretch, to reinforce your brain's association between sustained effort and positive recovery. Even the best schedules need slack. Insert buffer periods between blocks, 10 to 15 minutes, to absorb overruns and decompress. If a meeting runs late, you won't jump directly into your next block frazzled. The buffer protects your energy. Similarly, schedule margin hours each week, unallocated time reserved for spontaneous creativity, urgent tasks, or pure downtime. This margin prevents burnout and keeps stress from undermining your performance. To minimize context switching, batch similar tasks together. Dedicate one day to creative work, writing, problem solving, another to administrative tasks, emails, invoicing, scheduling, or theme your afternoons. Monday for marketing, Tuesday for networking outreach, Wednesday for skill development. Thematic batching leverages mental momentum, reducing the cognitive load of constantly shifting between unrelated activities. Align your blocks with your natural energy cycles. Track your peak focus times. Perhaps you're freshest between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., and again in late afternoon. Schedule your hardest tasks then. Move lower impact activities, email and minor errands, to your energy troughs. Logging your performance and alertness over multiple days reveals these rhythms. Honor them. Working against your body's clock erodes both quality and enjoyment. Distractions are time thieves. Build digital friction. Uninstall social apps from your work devices. Use website blockers during focus hours. Relocate your phone to another room. During breaks, allow limited, intentional digital use. Set a timer for 5 minutes of scrolling. Then resume. Treat your attention like a guest in your house. Welcome it, nourish it, then guide it back to your priorities when it wanders. Calendar clutter often stems from poorly conceived meetings. Audit recurring meetings. Decline or propose shorter durations if the agenda doesn't require full time. For essential gatherings, set clear agendas. Time box each topic, and start and end on schedule. Use standing or walking meetings when possible to boost energy and efficiency. Delegate attendance when appropriate, sending a delegate to take notes and report back. Freeing you for higher value work. Email can dominate your day if left unchecked. Designate specific email windows. For example, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m.s, rather than reacting to every ping. During clearing sessions, process mail in a touch once fashion. Delete, delegate, defer with a calendar action, or do immediately if it takes under 2 minutes. Outside those windows, silence notifications. Encourage colleagues to respect your email schedule by setting an auto response outside working hours that notes your response windows. Offload repetitive tasks through automation or delegation. Use email filters, canned responses, scheduling tools, and templates for frequent communications. Delegate personal errands, grocery delivery, dry cleaning pickups to assistants or services at work, and trust appropriate tasks to junior team members. Freeing yourself from low-value work multiplies your effective hours for high-impact contributions. Time mastery requires continuous refinement. Weekly, review your schedule versus your ideal time allocation. Calculate your focus utilization rate, the percentage of scheduled focus blocks you successfully complete. Identify persistent deviations and ask, why did this block fail? Was the block too long? Did I underestimate preparation? Did I neglect buffer time? Make incremental adjustments, shorten blocks, move them to better times, tweak margins. Create a visual week map displayed prominently in your workspace. Use color codes for different activity types: deep work, meetings, exercise, rest. This macro view helps you ensure balanced distribution and prevents overloading one category. Each glance at the map reinforces your commitment to time mastery. Beyond focus blocks, time box slots for innovation and skill growth. Assign a 2-hour learning lab weekly to experiment with new techniques, tools, or creative ideation. Protect this slot as fiercely as project deadlines. View it as an investment in future capability, not optional, nice-to-have time. Anchor your day with rituals. Begin with a brief planning session. Review your blocks, set micro goals for each, and visualize success. End with a shutdown ritual. Clear your workspace. Review uncompleted tasks for reprioritization, and journal one win and one lesson. These bookends will frame your day, signaling your brain when to activate and when to decompress. For small tasks under 2 minutes, replying to quick messages, logging an expense, handle them immediately. This prevents minor items from clogging your task list and calendar. The 2-minute rule keeps your inbox and backlog lean, preserving cognitive clarity for larger blocks. Time mastery isn't just about packing hours. It's about sustaining high performance. Schedule short movement breaks every hour. Stand, stretch, hydrate. Integrate power naps or meditation sessions for mental resets. Use a Pomodoro timer. 25 minutes focus, 5 minutes break. Honor your body's signals. A brief recharge often yields more productive energy than grinding through fatigue. Life throws curveballs. Urgent client requests, family emergencies, sudden health issues. Your margin buffers absorb these shocks. After an unplanned event, protect your remaining time by rescheduling blocks immediately. Don't let one disruption trail your entire day. Recommit to your zero-based structure by recalibrating your schedule on the fly. Once a quarter, conduct a time detox. For 1 day, eliminate all non-essential commitments and digital obligations. Experience a stripped-down schedule focused solely on your most meaningful activities, creative work, nature walks, deep connection with loved ones. This reset recalibrates your appreciation for intentional time use and reveals new optimization opportunities. Regularly assess your to-do list. What tasks must you do personally? What can be automated, delegated, or eliminated? Challenge the assumption that only you can perform each task. Empower others by sharing responsibility. The time you invest in training someone else pays back exponentially as they handle those tasks going forward. Treat successful days where you adhered to your ideal schedule as victories. Mark them on your calendar, add them to your win jar, or reward yourself with a meaningful treat, an inspiring book, a leisurely walk, or creative downtime. Reinforce that mastering time is itself a skill worthy of celebration. As you integrate these strategies, time audit, zero-based scheduling, focus blocks, margin creation, digital boundaries, and iterative reflection, you'll notice your days transform from frantic blur into purposeful flow. You'll accomplish more in fewer hours, feel less stressed, and build momentum that compounds over weeks and months. Time mastery is not about squeezing every last drop out of each minute. It's about aligning your hours with your highest aspirations and preserving the energy to sustain growth. By designing your schedule with intention and protecting it with discipline, you reclaim the most valuable asset you possess. Now open your calendar. Conduct a mini time audit of today's hours. Identify one low-value block to reclaim. Block in a high-impact focus session tomorrow morning. Add buffer time after every meeting. Silence notifications until your scheduled email window. Make these changes now. Then watch as your mastery of time unleashes unprecedented productivity and paves the way for your best self. You've mastered your time. Now confront the hidden barriers, the fears, limiting beliefs, and subconscious patterns holding you back. Radical honesty is your launchpad. Only by facing what's real can you dismantle the walls between you and your best self. This chapter guides you through structured self-interviews and vulnerability audits to expose and neutralize your inner saboteurs. Begin by listing the areas where you feel stuck or uncomfortable. Public speaking, asking for promotions, launching that side project, having tough conversations. For each domain, note the specific thoughts that arise when you consider taking action. I'll embarrass myself. I'm not qualified. They'll reject me. Write these beliefs in a dedicated journal section titled Hidden Barriers. Next, conduct a self-interview. Schedule a 20-minute session with yourself. Pen and paper ready. Ask probing questions. 1. What scares me most about succeeding? 2. What's the worst that could happen if I try and fail? Number 3. What stories have I told myself about my limits? Number 4. Where did those stories originate? Number 5. Whose voice am I echoing? The voices of critics, parents, or peers? Answer candidly. No sugarcoating. This raw data maps the psychological terrain you must traverse. Take each limiting belief and interrogate it. Use the evidence test. List evidence for and against the belief. If you think, I'm not qualified, write down your past successes, skills you've mastered, and compliments you've received. Confront the belief with facts. Often, you'll find your proof for limitations is flimsy, old anecdotes or other people's opinions framed as truth. Create a brief reality check you perform whenever self-doubt arises. Write a statement. I choose to operate from fact, not fear. When fear surfaces, repeat it thrice, breathe deeply, and ask, what's the next rational step? This ritual interrupts the fear loop and centers you in reality. For deeper blocks, perform root cause excavation. Draw a simple mind map. Your limiting belief at the center, then branch out to trace its origins, childhood criticism, professional setback, cultural expectations. By externalizing these roots, you depersonalize them and see they're not immutable truths, but historical artifacts. Next, catalog the emotions tied to each barrier: shame, embarrassment, anxiety, inadequacy. Rate their intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. Acknowledge how they physically manifest: tight chest, racing mind, nausea. Naming these sensations breaks their unconscious grip. Hold an empathy dialogue with your inner critic. Write a scripted conversation. You ask the critic why it's protecting you, and you respond with gratitude and curiosity. For example, inner critic, if you fail, people will judge you. You, thank you for trying to keep me safe. I know you care, but growth requires a risk. I promise to learn if I stumble. Might, this compassionate exchange transforms the critic from enemy to cautious ally, making it easier to proceed. Now craft empowering beliefs to replace the old ones. For each limiting belief, write a counter-belief that's aspirational and actionable. Limiting, I don't deserve success. Empowering, I earn success through consistent effort. State them in first person and present tense. Repeat each daily during your morning ritual to reinforce new neural pathways. Design controlled exposure exercises to confront your fears gradually. If public speaking terrifies you, start by recording yourself for 1 minute, then share it with a trusted friend for feedback. Next, speak for 2 minutes at a small meetup. Increase intensity over time. Each victory chips away at the barrier until it crumbles. Reframe failure as feedback by adopting safe fail strategies. Break high-stakes tasks into micro-tests. Publish a short blog post instead of writing a 5,000-word article. Pitch one idea instead of a full proposal. These low-risk experiments build your confidence and teach you what works. Surround yourself with people who celebrate vulnerability and growth. Join mastermind groups, peer cohorts, or professional networks where candid sharing is valued. Listening to others' stories of overcoming similar blocks reminds you you're not alone and provides fresh coping strategies. Make radical honesty itself a commitment in your accountability contract. Add a clause. I will share one uncomfortable truth about my progress each week with my accountability partner. This practice trains you to recognize barriers in real time, rather than only in self-reflection. embed your new beliefs in action. When you act in alignment with an empowering belief, speaking up in a meeting, sharing your work publicly, notice the congruence between thought and behavior. Record these belief-affirming moments in your win jar to solidify the new narrative. Schedule monthly barrier check-ins to revisit your hidden barriers list, identify new anxieties or recurring doubts, refresh your deconstruction, replacement, and exposure exercises. Radical honesty is not a one-time fix. It's a living practice. Integrate brief mindfulness breaks to observe your thoughts without judgment. When a fear arises, note it mentally. Thought, "I'm not ready." Then refocus on your breath. This decouples you from your fears and strengthens your ability to choose action over accusation. For deep-seated blocks, consider professional guidance, coaches, mentors, or therapists skilled in cognitive behavioral techniques. They provide structured frameworks and objective perspectives that accelerate barrier dismantling. As you enact these radical honesty protocols, you'll find once overbearing fears shrink into manageable tasks. The barriers you exposed become stepping stones to deeper self-awareness and lasting change. You'll approach challenges not with dread, but with curiosity and confidence, knowing you've built the tools to face whatever arises. Now, grab your Hidden Barriers journal. Identify one limiting belief and trace its evidence. Draft your counter-belief and plan a micro-exposure exercise for this week. Schedule your empathy dialogue before bed tonight. Then step into tomorrow with the clarity that the only walls between you and your greatness are the ones you choose to dismantle. You've laid the groundwork, ownership, action triggers, habit redesign, chosen discomfort, accountability, future self-modeling, and excuse annihilation. Now it's time to prove that change lives in motion, not words. Every plan, every intention, every belief crystallizes only when you act to cement transformation. You must establish relentless, visible evidence of your commitment through micro-wins, habit streaks, and public commitments. This is where change becomes undeniable. Begin by identifying your evidence actions, the smallest behaviors that directly demonstrate your goals. If your aim is to become a published author, your evidence action is writing at least one paragraph daily. If your goal is to lead with confidence, your evidence action is speaking up at least once in every meeting. Define one evidence action per core objective. These actions must be unambiguous, measurable, and repeatable. They are the DNA of your new identity. Next, adopt the micro-win sequence. Each morning, you choose your evidence action and resolve. Today, I will complete my action. You schedule a prompt, perhaps an alarm labeled evidence time, or a sticky note at your workstation. When the cue arrives, you pause whatever you're doing and perform the action. Immediately upon completion, you celebrate a deep breath, a self-affirmed yes, and a check mark on your tracking sheet. The emotional payoff of that small victory, pride, relief, momentum, fuels the next one. To maintain consistency, you electrify your micro-wins with habit stacks. Attach your evidence action to an established daily habit. For example, after your morning coffee, existing habit, you write your paragraph, evidence action. After your lunch break, you send your networking message. This stacking embeds proof actions into your existing routines, making them automatic over time. Simultaneously, you build streak momentum. You use a habit tracking app or a physical calendar to mark each day you complete your evidence action. A simple X for each day forms a visible chain. Your only job becomes not breaking the chain. Over days, you find yourself unwilling to disappoint the streak, especially when it spans a week, 2 weeks, or more. Breaking the chain inflicts a small but significant pinch of loss aversion. You'd rather act than face that sting. While streaks forge consistency, you amplify stakes with public commitments. Share your goal and evidence action with a trusted circle or on social media. For instance, I am committing to write 1 paragraph every day this month. Follow my progress. The fear of public underperformance spurs accountability. You feel the subtle pressure to deliver because observers expect you to keep your word. This social proof mechanism elevates your internal commitment to external obligation. To reinforce your evidence actions, you deploy progress rituals. At the end of each week, you review your streak and micro wins. You gather in a dedicated 15-minute ritual. Light a candle or play a specific track. Open your progress log and reflect on each win. You note lessons learned, moments of resistance that you overcame, and areas for improvement. You then set the next week's micro-win targets and update any implementation triggers. This ritual strengthens your psychological investment and transforms progress tracking from a chore into a growth celebration. For larger projects, you layer in milestone mapping. You break your big aspirations, publishing a book, launching a coaching program, mastering a skill, into interim milestones. First draft completion, chapter outline, beta launch, certification exam. After you achieve each, you publicly announce it and celebrate privately. These milestone victories create punctuated peaks of motivation that carry you through the valleys of slower progress. Complementing personal celebrations, you enlist shared accountability pods. You form a small group with peers pursuing similar goals. Each week, you present your evidence action streak and next milestones. You give and receive feedback, cheer on each other's wins, and troubleshoot obstacles. The collective energy lifts individual commitment. You no longer carry the load alone. You carry each other forward. To ensure consistent proof, you apply time block tagging. During your zero-based schedule, label focus blocks with the evidence actions you intend to complete. For example, your 9 to 10 a.m. block isn't just deep work. It's paragraph write block. When that block ends, you immediately mark completion in your tracker before moving on. This tight coupling of scheduled time and proof actions prevents work from dissipating into unfocused activity. When you slip, and you will, you deploy the rapid recovery protocol. Immediately acknowledge the miss without self-flagellation. You record it in your tracker as an AM. Then, within 2 hours, you perform the evidence action twice, if possible, to compensate. You log both completions and note what triggered the slip. This swift rebound prevents guilt from festering and signals to your system that accountability doesn't allow for extended lapses. As proof of progress accumulates, you integrate tangible progress artifacts. You save each written paragraph in a dedicated folder. Archive each networking email. Record each workout in your journal or fitness app. Over months, this archive transforms into a rich portfolio of evidence. When doubt creeps in, you review these artifacts to remind yourself that you've been doing the work. Tangible proof is harder to dispute than vague memories. You also leverage visual progress dashboards. Create a simple dashboard in a spreadsheet or app. Columns for date, evidence action, completion status, and notes. Add charts that show your streak, completion percentage, and milestone proximity. Hang a printed copy near your workspace or make it your desktop background. The visuals keep your progress salient and motivate you to maintain momentum. To heighten motivation, you set reward thresholds. For example, after 10 consecutive days of writing your paragraph, you reward yourself with a meaningful treat, a new book, a special meal, or a creative outing. After completing a milestone, You plan a bigger celebration. These structured rewards maintain enthusiasm and reinforce the link between action and positive outcomes. Simultaneously, you adopt failure reframing. When you miss a milestone or break a streak, you approach it as data. You ask, what did I learn? How can I adjust? You document the insight and incorporate it into your next cycle. This reframing turns setbacks into strategic pivots rather than morale killers. You deepen your proof strategy through public showcase events. The Unbreakable quarterly. You organize a virtual or live session to share your work, reading excerpts, presenting results, demonstrating a new skill. The act of showcasing raises the stakes for your evidence actions and amplifies feedback. It's one thing to track a streak privately. It's another to display your output to an audience and field questions or applause. To safeguard authenticity, you maintain progress integrity checks. You audit your tracker periodically to ensure you're not fudging entries. You commit to absolute honesty, even if it means shorter streaks. Integrity of proof underpins the entire system. Without it, streaks become empty symbols. With it, they become unshakable foundations of self-trust. Your final reinforcement always legacy journaling. You write periodic narrative summaries of your journey, how you started, the systems you built, the habits you formed, and the evidence you generated. You date these entries and archive them. Over time, your legacy journal reads like a blueprint of transformation, a testament to what relentless proof of action can accomplish. This proof through action framework converges into an unstoppable feedback loop. You act, you record, you celebrate, you learn, and you act again. Each cycle deepens your discipline, accelerates your growth, and hardens your identity as someone who proves change rather than just planning it. Now, select your primary goal and define its evidence action. Set up your micro-win sequence tonight. Identify the cue, the action, and the celebration ritual. Install your habit tracker, announce your commitment publicly, and schedule your weekly progress ritual. When the cue hits tomorrow, perform the action. Mark your streak and savor that win. Prove through action that change day starts with you. Because when you convert every intention into tangible proof, you no longer hope for transformation. You become living evidence of it. You've proven change through action. Now you solidify it with rituals that reinforce your identity every time you wake, work, and rest. Rituals are more than routines. They're symbolic enactments of who you are and who you're becoming. By embedding keystone ceremonies into your morning, midday, and evening, you wire new habits into your nervous system until they become as natural as breathing. Your first ritual is morning alignment before your feet touch the floor. You begin. As the alarm chimes, you place your hand over your heart and inhale deeply. Feeling the weight of the day ahead, you silently recite your 3 core values: ownership, growth, and accountability, connecting emotionally to each word. Then you slide out of bed and move to your ritual space, a small corner of your bedroom reserved solely for this practice. You light a candle or turn on a soft lamp, signaling to your brain that this is sacred time. Next, you engage in a brief mindful movement, 3 minutes of gentle stretches or yoga poses that awaken your body. Each movement is accompanied by an intention phrase. I stretch my potential. I open to new growth. I ground my focus. You feel the physical release of tension and the mental release of limiting thought patterns. And as your body wakes, so does your mind. Primed for clear purpose, following movement, you sit with your journal for the priority clarification ritual. You write down your top 3 outcomes for the day. Precise, actionable deliverables rather than vague hopes. For each, you note the why, the deeper reason driving your commitment. You then read aloud the commitment statements you drafted in earlier sections. I am a person who takes immediate action. I claim my time as my most valuable asset. I honor discomfort as growth. This vocal reinforcement cements your identity before life's demands press in. You close the morning ritual with a gratitude invocation. You jot down 3 specific things you appreciate, from the air you breathe to the challenges that sharpen you. This practice counterbalances ambition with appreciation, preventing burnout and fostering resilience. As you extinguish the candle or dim the lamp, you feel aligned, energized, and clear. Your second ritual is midday recalibration. Around the halfway point of your focused work block, often midday, you pause, you stand, stretch, and take 3 intentional breaths. You then perform a body scan, a quick mental check of tension in your neck, shoulders, and back. You roll your shoulders, contract your abs, and release, physically resetting for the afternoon. Next, you engage in a power pause. You close your eyes for 60 seconds and silently ask, am I on track with my priorities? If the answer is yes, you celebrate with a brief, silent yes and adjust minor tasks as needed. If no, you identify one corrective microaction, an immediate step to realign with your top outcomes, and commit to it. This recalibration prevents drift and keeps your momentum alive. After the pause, you perform a focus refresh ritual. You sip a glass of water infused with a slice of lemon or cucumber, hydration to boost cognition, while scanning your streak tracker. You observe your habit chain glowing with X's and feel the pull to maintain it. The water cools your system. The visual proof cools any creeping doubt. You then return to your work, conscious that each minute is precious. Your third ritual is evening integration. As the sun descends, you enact a digital shutdown. Screens off, notifications silenced, devices placed in another room. You dim the lights and light a second candle, or switch on warm hue lamps to signal the brain's shift from productivity to reflection. Then comes the win and lesson review. You open your journal and write 1 sentence celebrating your biggest win of the day, and 1 sentence identifying a lesson learned. You phrase it neutrally. Today, I completed my paragraph streak. I noticed fatigue slowed my focus, so I'll adjust my snack timing tomorrow. This balanced reflection acknowledges progress and guides improvement without self-judgment. Next, you engage in the release ritual, a brief visualization where you imagine placing any residual stress or uncompleted tasks onto a floating leaf drifting down a stream. You watch the leaf carry your worries away, freeing your mind from work's unfinished edges. This symbolic act helps you mentally detach, improving sleep quality and morning readiness. Finally, you close with adaptive goal setting. You review your top 3 priorities for the next day and adjust them based on today's insights. You write them clearly and place the journal on your bedside table, parallel to your morning candle and ritual space. The day ends with anticipation, knowing you'll return to this ritual loop tomorrow, reinforcing your identity and fueling continuous progress. These 3 keystone rituals, morning alignment, midday recalibration, and evening integration, operate as pillars holding your identity in place. Each one bridges your conscious aspirations and your unconscious routines. They function as daily ceremonies, signaling to your brain that you are, in fact, the person you claim to be. To ensure these rituals stick, you embed ritual triggers, external cues that prompt you without thought. The morning trigger is your alarm tone. The midday trigger is the end of your lunch period. The evening trigger is your last email sent, or your calendar's end work indicator. Each cue instantly transports you into ritual mode, bypassing internal resistance. You also safeguard them with ritual enforcement contracts. In the same way you created accountability for tasks, you declare, if I skip a ritual 3 days in a row, I will owe my accountability partner $25. The economic consequence underscores the importance of these identity-defining practices. To deepen their impact, you periodically iterate your rituals. Every quarter, you review each ritual's components. Are the movement stretches still energizing? Is the midday reflection too brief? Does the release visualization resonate? You refine the elements, perhaps adding a 2-minute meditation or an inspirational quote to keep the experience fresh and potent. You can also integrate collective rituals in social contexts. A mastermind group that meets weekly might open with a shared gratitude invocation or collective win and lesson sharing. A workout buddy might perform synchronized power pauses. These communal rituals amplify individual commitment through shared energy. Over time, these rituals become invisible scaffolding in your life. You don't have to force them. They flow naturally because they're ingrained as part of your identity. Skipping them feels as strange as skipping brushing your teeth. They maintain your trajectory, especially on days when motivation dips or external chaos threatens your focus. As you move through life, these rituals anchor you to your core values and your best self. They guard against drift into old patterns and ensure that each day isn't just lived, but ceremoniously aligned with your highest aspirations. Through morning alignment, midday recalibration, and evening integration, you package intention, action, reflection, and restoration into a seamless loop of growth. Now identify one aspect of each ritual you will implement tonight. Perhaps you set out your ritual candle, or you draft tomorrow's top 3 priorities. Maybe you schedule your midday power pause alarm or prepare your release visualization prompts. Embed that first trigger tonight. Then tomorrow morning, greet the day with your aligned ritual and watch as your identity solidifies through these daily ceremonies. You have engineered keystone rituals for identity reinforcement. Embrace them consistently, and you'll not only become your best self, you'll live as your best self every moment of every day. You've ingrained rituals. Now steel yourself for setbacks. Real growth isn't linear. It's a zigzag of progress, stumbles, and recoveries. Bounce-back resilience is the capacity to rebound swiftly and stronger after failures. Coupled with feedback mastery, these qualities transform every obstacle into a springboard, ensuring you never stay down. The first step toward resilience is reframing failure. Instead of seeing missteps as evidence of inadequacy, you treat them as raw data for improvement. When a project misses its deadline or a habit streak breaks, you pause and ask, what exactly went wrong? Which factors contributed? You document the details: time of day, emotional state, environmental cues, turning emotional wounds into analytical opportunities. Over time, this practice inoculates you against a fear of failure. You know each setback is simply information, not a verdict on your worth. Following any significant slip, you enact a structured post-mortem. Within 24 hours, you gather your journal, metrics dashboard, and accountability notes. You review the event step by step, identifying root causes, decision points, and contextual triggers. For each identified cause, you generate at least one corrective action. Maybe you stayed up too late, so tomorrow you enforce a stricter shutdown ritual. Maybe you underestimated task complexity, so next time you break it into smaller micro-actions. This protocol ensures accountability without shame, converting regret into strategic clarity. Resilience demands emotional agility. You master techniques to regulate stress in real time. Box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold 4. Exhale 4. Hold 4. Repeat until calm. Grounding exercise. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 you can hear, pulling you out of rumination. Micro meditations. 60-second mindfulness sessions to reset your mind amidst chaos. By practicing these daily, you build an automatic toolkit to quell anxiety and refocus self-control during crises. Your internal dialogue shapes your bounce-back capability. You replace, "I can't believe I failed again" with, "This is exactly the challenge I needed to learn what works." You script empowering affirmations. "Setbacks are my launch pads," and recite them whenever self-doubt flares. Over time, you rewire neural pathways so that failure triggers curiosity. What can I learn? Rather than paralysis. To prevent blowouts from derailing momentum, you set micro goals that are nearly impossible to miss, even on low-energy days. If your typical writing goal is 1,000 words, you create a fail-safe goal of 100 words if you miss your primary target. The guarantee of at least some progress maintains streaks and reinforces resilience. When you exceed 100 words, you celebrate the overperformance. When you only hit 100, you still preserve momentum and quickly rebound. You don't rely solely on self-analysis. You establish feedback loops with mentors, coaches, or peers who provide external perspectives. After completing major tasks, drafting a chapter, delivering a presentation, you solicit targeted feedback. You ask specific questions. Where did my logic falter? Which moments felt unclear? You log their insights and integrate them into your next iteration. External feedback shortens learning cycles and prevents blind spots from becoming persistent stumbling blocks. You ritualize your bounce-back process. After a setback, you perform a brief ceremony, perhaps pouring a cup of tea, lighting a match to symbolize releasing the past, and reciting your corrective actions aloud. This ritual marks the end of one cycle and the start of the next. It signals to your subconscious that you're switching from failure mode to growth mode. Over time, this ritual becomes a reliable reset button. You cultivate an anti-fragile attitude, viewing challenges not only as risks, but as sources of improvement. You actively seek exposure to mild stressors that fortify you. Volunteering for tough assignments, learning accident-prone new skills, or engaging in cold exposure. Each controlled stress inoculates your system, making you stronger when larger storms hit. Resilience isn't just about speed of rebound, it's about quality of learning. You track recovery metrics alongside performance metrics, time to implement corrective action, number of corrective iterations, and reduction in similar errors over time. By quantifying your bounce-back speed and improvement rate, you measure not just what you achieve, but how quickly and effectively you adapt. In your self-accountability contract, you add a recovery clause. If I miss my core target, I commit to executing my first corrective micro-action within 2 hours. This clause enforces immediacy. You can't let a failure linger into the next day. Immediate action prevents guilt from mounting and reinforces the habit of swift recovery. You employ visualization exercises to rehearse bouncing back. You imagine encountering a significant obstacle, public criticism, a failed pitch, and you see yourself calmly analyzing, implementing solutions, and regaining momentum within hours. This mental practice primes your neural circuits for actual recovery, reducing response time when setbacks occur. You build a circle of resilience partners, friends or colleagues who also commit to quick recovery. You establish a recovery huddle where, after any miss, you debrief with a partner. Here's what happened. Here's my corrective plan. This social process accelerates accountability and provides moral support, making bounce back less isolating and more collaborative. For larger setbacks, you launch learning sprints. You dedicate a focused period, 1 week or 1 month, to address the root issues discovered in your postmortem. During the sprint, everything else is secondary. You isolate the problem area, consume targeted resources, practice intensively, and track progress. At the sprint's end, you present your newfound competence, reinforcing the connection between failure, learning, and mastery. You enhance your resilience by sharing your recovery stories publicly via blog posts, team meetings, or social updates. You narrate what went wrong, how you felt, what you did next, and the lessons gained. This transparency not only helps others learn, but also solidifies your narrative of competence. You transform a potential shame point into a badge of honor. Resilience requires ongoing nourishment. You maintain a resilience journal where you record challenges you've overcome, no matter how small. On tough days, you read back these entries, reminding yourself of your proven capacity to bounce back. This practice keeps your confidence anchored even when new obstacles arise. You mark not only achievements, but also recoveries. Each time you bounce back within your self-imposed window, you reward yourself an intentional, small treat that acknowledges not the initial success, but the rapid recovery. Celebrating recovery conditions you to view setbacks as opportunities for celebration, not shame. Through these strategies, failure data conversion, rapid postmortems, emotional regulation, fail-safe goals, expert feedback, resilience rituals, anti-fragility, recovery metrics, and social support, you build a resilient engine that thrives on adversity. Every setback becomes a stepping stone, every stumble a lesson, and every recovery a testament to your unbreakable spirit. Reflect on your most recent setback. Conduct a swift postmortem. Analyze causes, draft corrective actions, and schedule your resilience ritual tonight. Share your recovery plan with your accountability partner. Set your recovery window and commit to bouncing back before dinner tomorrow. Then watch as your resilience mastery turns challenges into catalysts for your best self. You've built resilience. Now you cement your commitment with an unbreakable excellence pledge and chart a future roadmap for lifelong growth. This pledge is more than words. It's a living covenant between your present self and your highest potential. Your roadmap outlines evolving milestones, feedback loops, and continuous improvement cycles that ensure you never settle, always sharpen, and perpetually ascend. Begin with a clear, concise statement of your core mission. Write, I, your name, pledge to pursue excellence through ownership, relentless action, and unyielding growth. Beneath it, list your non-negotiable principles, your personal constitution. For example, ownership. I accept full responsibility for my choices. Integrity. I act according to my highest values. Excellence. I strive to exceed expectations in every endeavor. Learning. I treat every experience as an opportunity to grow. Contribution. I leverage my strengths to uplift others. Format this manifesto in a visually striking way. Frame it, print it in bold letters, and place it where you'll see it daily. Recite it each morning during your alignment ritual, feeling the gravity of each word in your chest. Your future roadmap consists of layered stretch goals, long-term visions broken into quarterly targets. Identify 3 major objectives for the next 12 months. Publishing a book, launching a professional program, achieving peak fitness benchmarks, mastering a new language. For each objective, map out quarterly milestones. Q1, draft outline, secure accountability group, 10,000 words written. Q2, complete first draft, begin beta testing, finish 2 podcast interviews. Q3, revise manuscript, finalize cover design, schedule promotional events, Q4 Hamag, public and host launch webinar, collect reviews, make your roadmap graphic, use a simple Gantt chart or timeline, display it on your workspace. This living plan guides your focus and keeps you excited about the future. Excellence demands iteration. For each quarterly milestone, schedule a retrospective at the end of the period. In your retrospective, answer: what worked exceptionally well? Which strategies underperformed? What patterns of resistance emerged? Which habits most drove results? How can I adapt my systems for the next quarter? Document your findings in a dedicated roadmap journal. These retrospectives become the engine of continuous improvement, closing feedback loops that accelerate your ascent. Your identity must expand with your roadmap. As you complete each milestone, update your self-model. I am a published author. I am a program creator. I am a polyglot. Use the behavioral modeling techniques from Section 6 to embody these new identities. Adjust your keystone rituals to incorporate symbolisms of each achievement. Light a new candle for your book launch. Add a new value ritual celebrating your program's first cohort. Introduce a language immersion ritual for each quarterly goal. Create a contract similar to your accountability pledge. If I fail to complete 10,000 words by March 31st, I will consequence. Set meaningful stakes, donations, public acknowledgements, or symbolic forfeitures. Sign and date each contract. These adaptive contracts ensure you maintain momentum across time horizons, not just day to day. As your goals grow, expand your support network. Recruit expert mentors for specific domains, publishing advisors, program consultants, language coaches. Establish monthly check-in rituals with each expert. Present your progress data. Solicit targeted feedback and integrate their guidance into your roadmap. This scaling of feedback ensures you maintain agility and avoid blind spots. To prevent stagnation, schedule quarterly innovation sprints, intensive, short bursts of exploration outside your comfort zone. Spend 1 week experimenting with emerging tools, new methodologies, or creative formats related to your roadmap. Document discoveries in your roadmap journal. These sprints inject novelty and spark creativity and keep your vision fresh. Your roadmap isn't just about personal growth. It's about the impact you leave. Define a legacy statement. Through my work, I will empower the target audience to desired transformation. Embed this statement at the top of each roadmap segment. When you tether your milestones to a larger purpose, daily grind transforms into meaningful mission. As you pursue ambitious goals, identify potential risks, market shifts, resource constraints, personal burnout. For each risk, develop mitigation strategies, backup timelines, resource buffers, health safeguards, and contingency plans. Review these risk profiles during your quarterly retrospectives and adjust accordingly. Adaptation under uncertainty is a hallmark of excellence. Plan celebratory rituals for each milestone. After your book launch, host a themed event. At your program's inaugural cohort graduation, deliver a keynote. When you achieve language proficiency, organize a cultural immersion outing. These celebrations reinforce your progress emotionally and socially, embedding each victory in your personal lore. As you advance, you also become a mentor. Identify aspirational newcomers aligned with your journey. Offer structured guidance. Share your roadmap journal insights and incorporate mentorship as part of your quarterly goals. Contribution deepens your mastery and fulfills your legacy purpose. Regularly refresh your roadmap graphic to reflect new insights, shifting priorities, and emerging opportunities. Keep it digital for easy editing and print a current version monthly. Visual updates maintain engagement and remind you that your path is dynamic, not static. Finally, Translate your roadmap into daily bookmarks, specific evidence actions tied to each quarterly milestone. For your book, micro wins include a paragraph. For your program, a daily outreach message. For your language, 10 new vocabulary terms. Integrate these into your existing micro-win and streak systems. This fusion ensures your grand vision is built moment by moment. At the start of each quarter, perform a roadmap right. Review your manifesto. Read your legacy statement. Examine your roadmap chart, and verbally recommit to your quarterly milestones. End with a symbolic gesture, perhaps lighting a new candle or signing a fresh contract page. This rite re-energizes your focus and aligns your spirit with your plan. With your Unbreakable Excellence pledge in place and a robust future roadmap guiding your trajectory, you create an enduring structure for perpetual growth. You've designed a system where clarity, accountability, feedback, celebration, and adaptation converge. This framework ensures your journey toward your best self never plateaus.